If I gave a fuck what y'all think I would be doing this? Welcome to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me, for us. Vulgar but true, real and never fake. I'm your host, A.O. Reese, and I've got a lot of shit on my mind today, so let's get into it.
You know, I swear sometimes certain things happen to me in life that just sounds so unbelievable if you were just to read about it online. The only way it might make a bit of sense is if you hear the story actually coming from me. So check this out. So the other day, I was downtown working in office. I work in one of the bigger buildings downtown, and there's a parking garage connected to the building. So to access the building, you have to get in from the fourth floor of the parking garage. So depending on what time I get there, if there's availability, I'll park on the first floor of the garage and just take the stairs up, because when it's time to go, it's easier for me to walk down the stairs from the fourth to the first floor to get to my car and get the fuck out of the garage quicker, right? So I'm leaving work. I walk out the building, cross over the bridge over onto the fourth floor of the to get into the parking garage and head. I'm heading towards the stairs so I can head down to the first floor on the garage. So to give a visual and to paint this picture even better, there's a door on each floor entrance to get into the stairwell. So I'm walking through the fourth floor garage, walking towards the stairwell. I go to open the door. Why, as soon as I open the door and pop my head in, tell me why is some chick in there sitting on the stairs and there's a nigga standing up getting his dick sucked? The last thing I expected when leaving work was to open a door and have a whole dick pointing at me. So immediately I'm like, what the fuck? And then I just close the fucking door and just walk away, because people are crazy, and I don't know who this nigga is. He could have had a weapon on him or been on some other shit. Hey nigga, what the fuck you doing? So the first thing I'm sure a lot of people probably are thinking is did this nigga work at your job? He wasn't an employee because he wasn't dressed like somebody that works in my building. I mean, he was in a fucking Atlanta Hawks jersey with no undershirt. And the big gremlin looking joint who was given the top in the parking garage stairs was in an all pink velour suit. So after I closed the door and walked away, I immediately walked to the other side of the parking garage to go down those stairs to get to the first floor to get to my car. I see these motherfuckers walking out the parking garage, and the shorty is smoking a blunt as they were walking out. I mean, I could smell the fucking weed from 50 feet away. So I concluded that the motherfuckers had to be, I'm guessing, homeless, because it's mad homeless people over there. It's like fucking zombie land. And I mean, if you happen to be someone that's fortunately to be in a shelter, you can't be in there fucking. So dude was probably just hey girl, let's walk over to this parking garage at 3 p.m. and your gremlin ass is gonna suck my dick. Shit was really a truly unbelievable occurrence. But hey, such is life, right? But anyways, happy Friday, people, and welcome to an all new exciting episode of the From Me For Us podcast. And I will say this, my algorithm has been going crazy with all kinds of random shit. But one thing that stood out to me the other day when I was scrolling Instagram was some random podcast, which, why am I surprised? Because I post podcasts, I post about podcasts, I grab my own podcast. But I'm not even sure what the name of this podcast was. But the debate, and I wouldn't even say a debate, but the conclusion in the clip was that Ludacris has no classic albums. First of all, I'm not sure how old these dudes were. I'm assuming they were at least mid to late 20s, but shit like this is what leads me to always say that not everybody needs a damn mic or a platform. People are entitled to their own opinions, whether you like something or not, for sure. I'm good with that. But there are certain things that just aren't really debatable. I'm not sitting here saying that you got to put Luda in your top 5, your top 10, or anything like that. But to sit up here and say he has no classic albums when he legit went on a 3-peat is fucking blasphemy. I'm not sitting here saying that, Back for the First Time, which was repackaged from the original Incognito Negro EP with a couple bonus tracks added, which was something similar to what Eminem did with the Slim Shady EP and then the LP. Know your history. Then Luda came back with Word of Mouth, Fire album. Welcome to Atlanta was a bonus hidden track on there after Block Lockdown was finished playing. A lot of y'all new little niggas don't even know nothing about bonus hidden tracks on real CDs. Then for number 3 is Chicken and Beer, which might have been the most famous amongst all those albums, just because at the time, I mean, at least for me, this was my freshman year of high school. So, a lot of crazy memories growing up then, and more so not just that, but the songs that were more so featured that really propelled him in that main line. So all 3 of these albums are classics to me, and to sit here and say that he has no classic album is really fucking ridiculous. And somebody probably needs to snatch the mic out of whoever them guys' fucking hands are. Of course, like I said, you ain't gotta say it's the best album. You don't gotta say it's your favorite album. Even if you want to try to degrade it, because the music videos were silly or cartoonish, and sometimes the raps were a little silly or funny. But I mean, honestly, I don't really think you can degrade it, because none of that shit really matters. The quality is the quality in the bars and the songs. That's always my biggest argument when it comes to who's better than who. I look at you being able to spit, have some type of punchlines, rapidy rap, whoopty whoopty whoop, but the song still has to be enjoyable. Sometimes I don't want to hear a song where a nigga's just a sip it, like, and it's just like, yeah, you might be spitting some fucking quadruple entendre, don't know what you're saying shit, but can I play that shit in the car and ride out? It don't really exist no more. But he was able to have all of that going on and really put together solid projects, even with funny skits and shit like that. That was classics back in the day. But no, you don't have to have it as your top favorite album. I mean, like, for me personally, I'm not going to act like Illmatic was one of my favorite albums, but I'm not going to sit here and say, like, it's not a classic, because, I mean, again, there's just certain things in music that just, they're not debatable, man. Another thing that really isn't debatable, has been a lot of drama in the female rap land. So, like a couple weeks ago, Cardi dropped her album, shooting some shots at some people. Nicki climbed out of her hole, started shooting shots on Twitter, even though, honestly, I don't even think she was mentioned on the album. And then it went a bit left when they both kept going back and forth on Twitter, and they started dragging each other's kids and doing all this other crazy shit. I'm not getting too much into that, because I honestly really don't give too much a fuck about women drama, nor do I condone talking about someone's kids. But on the music side, I will say this. It's funny how, like, listening to the new Cardi album, because honestly, I mean, I give everybody's album a spin at least one time, I mean, I want to hear what they're talking about. I got to find what songs is going to hit for the girlies on the playlist. So when I'm throwing functions, it keeps that bitch going. I'm DJ iPod, right? So listening to the album, it's pretty good. But, like, I did notice, like, a thread of 3 of them songs in a row was talking about, like, the breakup with Offset, which, to no surprise, right? But I think because we start to conflate music with reality, and yes, those things of reality are inspiration for the music, we start to take it like a personal beef within ourselves. Because, like, I'm seeing online, being that all their business is in the news because of everything, I'm seeing people basically mad at Offset for still getting podcast appearances and praise during his appearances on shows like Jennifer Hudson when they going down the tunnel and shit. Yo, y'all bitches is acting like this nigga Offset committed murder or some shit. Like, I mean, all he did was fuck some side bitches. Not to say that it's the right thing to do, but I'm just saying, because he was fucking around, he can't get no show appearances or get any praise, awards, or make any money or do anything because he was fucking around on his wife, who ultimately fucked back around and got pregnant while still married. Because of that pregnancy, I mean, I tell you one thing too though about that. We always talk about roles and equality and whatever other shit, but I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't mad at that nigga for saying, hey, I need a little bit of spousal support. Like, you was the one that was super lit. I mean, I'm lit, but you was super lit, making the coins. And, for the sake of just knowing how, this would go if the roles were reversed and if she was trying to get some money out of him. Hey, man, do your thing, 21. And I don't want to hear nobody scream nothing about no soft girl life either and try to flip it and say, well, you're supposed to be providing a life, a soft girl life, whatever. Because honestly, I mean, if we really think about what soft girl life is in translation, all that really means is a nigga spending money or doing shit that you don't want to do. Half y'all hoes is lazy. But if it was the other way around, y'all would be on that get your coin queen. So yeah, Offset, request a little bit of spousal support. Get your coins, king. Because I tell you one thing, whether I did my thing in the streets or not, if we technically married and she technically get pregnant by another nigga, you gonna give me some goddamn spousal support too.
And now here's the news by A.O. Reese. Woo-hoo!
So Aisha Curry has just really been back in the headlines, embarrassing the shit out of Wardell. So if you haven't heard or haven't seen any of the viral videos that are going around, she did an interview. And it was a conversation surrounding how she never wanted to be married. She never wanted to have kids. I'm paraphrasing here. That wasn't really her dream, and that life, that she has now set her back from doing things that she wanted to do and blah, blah, fucking blah. Now, listen, I'm understanding of that to a T because I know women, we praise y'all. Y'all put up with a lot. Y'all go through a lot. This is why I think Mother's Day gets more praise than Father's Day, unfortunately. And we understand that. We have empathy for that. But one major thing in particular, on top of everything you go through with being mothers and stuff, is that, it does make you like put things that maybe y'all wanted to do on the back burner because being a mom takes a lot and, there's so much other stuff that's going along with it. I'm with you and I understand that. I don't want to sound like I'm just cruel and don't get it. But at the same time, you fucking signed up for this shit. I'm kind of tired of the whole wanting to be an independent woman, but with the benefits of being a dependent. Like, the shit, to me, honestly, is kind of bullshit. You can't complain about living this famous millionaire wife lifestyle you chose that technically still provides you a way to do anything you want to do, even if you, have to be a mother first to later accomplish this said dream job that you want to do later. I mean, you just can't always have it both ways. I feel like, and I'm going to use the Currys as an example since we're on that topic, and that's what really brought all this up on the internet. Let's look at it from Steph's POV. I mean, Steph has done everything he's supposed to do. Now, you don't know everything of people's marriages. We're not there personally, but, based on what it seems like in my perception and probably most people's perception, he got married young, early in his 20s. All his kids, I think, are technically in wedlock, if that means anything. He's in the house, not in trouble. He gives his life to faith and religion. He just hoops to take care of his family, putting family first. And like you on these platforms talking like this, I mean, it's insane to me. And I've seen a lot of women who are like, oh, y'all men are up in arms about the Aisha Curry stuff and all this other shit. And it's like, listen, you can be entitled to feel how you feel, like in regards to life initially. I never saw myself married with kids. I thought I would just have this career. This isn't what I envisioned my life to be initially and all that. But you got to have some type of like introspective thoughts to understand like who you married to and how everything you say or do is just going to be under a microscope. It's not that you lie or hold back how you're feeling to close friends or loved ones, but there is something called compartmentalization for perception. It's like that example I always fucking use of men, where if the girls are like, oh, does this make me look fat? Yeah, it might make you look like a fat ass whale, but there is something called, compartmentalization perception where we're not going to say, oh, yeah, you fat as hell, bitch. We might say, oh, no, it's not that bad. Or we might try to steer you in a way where we say, well, this area may not look the greatest on Instagram in your pics when you post. We're going to play it off and be a bit considerate because we don't want to hurt your feelings. And we know a lot of times we have to tiptoe around that shit. So this is like a similar aspect of where, because of who you're married to, everything you say or anything you do is under a microscope. In those measurements, you have to really just be cognizant of the things that you say and how it may reflect on your superstar, legendary, future Hall of Fame husband. Not even just him, but your marriage and really just your whole life, because really you the topic of the internet for the last few weeks. And I mean, even because of that conversation, you've got old shit that resurfaces because the internet never forgets, of where, she was on some interview or talk show and the muscular niggas was coming out and then she was pretending to take her ring off. I mean, personally, I don't think it's a big deal. But I think when you start to add things up cumulatively and there's a track record of it, it looks a little worse and hits a bit harder than, based on just these comments or just the joke about the ring coming off. All this I am woman, hear me roar, motherfuckers defending the shit. Like, sure. Oh, we're up. The men are so up in arms. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I mean, listen, y'all mostly defending it on the strength of free speech, which, yes, everybody's entitled to speak how they feel. This is a free country, quote unquote. But again, it's about wordsmith and platform. You can't just say whatever the fuck you want to say and say, well, you're holding me back from my free speech and entitlement of how I feel. I can't just go to work one day and when someone annoys me, I just say, nigga, fuck you. It may be how I feel, but it's just not appropriate. Now, that may be extreme, but you get the point. So at the end of the day, if you're going to be a dependent, you got to play the role of a dependent at times. This isn't to say that you don't have your own feelings and your partner shouldn't consider those feelings and y'all don't work together as a team, but you can't be the person who has the mindset of independence where you control or run everything or can make or break every decision when you really ain't even got the means, especially financially, to do so. One thing I always say is to pick a struggle. Ultimately, you work so you can be successful and can eventually kick your feet up. I think that's why everybody works, right? She has the ultimate cheat code where she can kick her feet up in her 30s. Essentially, she kicked her feet up in her 20s when he got to the league, but it's just not enough. This is why Eve ate the apple, had perfect paradise, but she wanted more. And Adam, his ass didn't say anything, which is part of the problem. I had to go to a service last week, and a preacher had actually preached this, and that's why I use that as an example. Pretty much said that us as men, we can't be like Adam, and we need to be the ones to lead, as Eve, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, came from the rib as us as men to step up to be leaders and not just sit back and just let things be effed up. We have to say no and not let the quote unquote Eves of the world lead us astray, So on the flip side, in the words of Stevie J, sometimes, man, you got to just tell them it's my bus, it's my gas, the air in the tires is on my bus. Get with the program, I'm at a lee ass in the desert. Everybody got a role, man, and sometimes we need to just reestablish what these roles should be in specific dynamics. I mean, Shaq wasn't trying to shoot threes when he played in the league. Stupid.
Thanks for listening to the FMFU podcast. Follow me on Facebook at FMFU Experience. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at FMFU_experience. Also, check me out on Twitch for some Warzone action at ReesePup007. Remember, people, life is a series of choices. Just make sure you make the right one. Peace.